Welcome back to Naval Gazing Camp David, the channel where men who think that a circumnavigation as a post-retirement project is a great idea try to convince their beautiful but skeptical wives that it really is a fantastic idea. This week's guest yacht is a relatively new brand from an old and respected marque that has shaken up the catamaran design world with multiple innovations, and it's the Bali 4.8. Today, we are going to, as usual, review its specifications, pricing, layout against three similar new vessels. We're going to do a full tour. Remember, guys, we're asking what would Sylvia say, not what would we like. 3, we're going to do a little naval gazing at certain adjustments to the design or technical innovations we could add to this yacht to make it more wife-friendly. 4, have a look at the used market for 3 to 5 year old pre-owned comparables. And 5, and finally, give it a Dave score and then compare it to the rest of the yachts that we have looked at up to this point in time. As always, we got a wine pairing with our yacht of choice, and this week we head over to the Mediterranean coast of France just north of Barcelona and the home of Bali catamarans in Cannes-en-Roussillon. The wine that we're looking at is a Chateau Lorigue Cuvée Jaune, and I sure hope I've done that correctly. It scores 91 points with the Wine Spectator, and Vivino says it's a 96% match to my personal tastes. It's described as a decanted blend of Carignan, Grenache, and Syrah. So let's have a look at this. We'll open it up for you, have a little smell, have a little taste, and see how it all looks in the glass. The Carignan, Grenache, Syrah grapes come from the sandy vineyards of the Côte de Catalans in the south of France. After the manual harvest, the grapes undergo a fermentation with regular pumping to obtain a more color and tannins. The fermentation takes place at a controlled temperature, and the wine undergoes a maturation of 6 months on French and American oak partly used barrels. I hope you like it. Smooth. Wow, that's beautiful. Now let's have a look at that boat. Okay, diving into this boat, you can see it's it's got massive space. Everywhere you look, there's another surface to entertain and enjoy. The overall look is, for me, not wildly inspiring, but I mean, when you're going to have that kind of square footage, it's got to come from somewhere, and generally that means it looks like a box. Looking at the statistics, you can see right off the bat on pricing, this is extremely attractive. At $764, with the level of square footage this has and the size, it really is quite a bargain. Leopard 50 is about 100 more. The Lagoon 51 is about 75 more than that. The only one here that comes close, actually beats it out, is the DeFore 48, which has recently been sold, and we'll be reviewing that later on. It's a very handsome boat, and for the price, a great value. You know, looking at other elements, as far as the length goes, the Lagoon now with its tagged on sugar scoops is a little bit longer and a little bit beamier. The air draft on this one is the highest of the bunch. Displacement is the lightest. So at 15.3 ton, the only thing that's close to it is the DeFore at 16.5. The Leopard, boy, that baby needs to go on a bit of a diet at 20.6, and the Lagoon 51 not far behind at 19.9. But you know, air draft and displacement wise, the Bali shouldn't do too badly. Now, upwind sail area, we're looking at 128, which is the sort of third lowest. The DeFore is 124, Leopard's 152, and the Lagoon 150. The other areas, you know, fuel tanks, the only one that beats it slightly is the Lagoon 51 at 1,040 liters. The Bali has really nice tanks at 1,000 liters of fuel and 1,000 liters of water. It's meant to sail long distances and do a very, very good job at it. Okay, moving on to the profiles. As you can see, the Bali here, she has quite a chunky profile. The Leopard still, even the Leopard has a little sleeker one. That DeFore is the most attractive. Looking down over top again, you can see the pricing. We've got it in euros here. Very attractive, but the DeFore has the lead. The sheer space that you've got though, looking down on the Bali with that solid fore deck and the fly bridge and the pop-up door at the back, it's quite extraordinary. Again, you can see the tonnage here. The Bali is extremely attractive at 15.3. The overall cabin space though, this is where the Bali really shines. And poor Seth over at HH is tired of me talking about athwartship berths. But again, we're looking at this from Sylvia's perspective. And you know, I remember walking her into a Lagoon 46 thinking, wow, she's gonna love this master suite on the full side. And she took one look at that bed and said, wow, that's tight. And I thought, tight? You can walk around it, even though it's fore aft. I realized she's looking at her bedroom and I'm looking at other boats. But Sylvia is the market here because I'm not going anywhere unless she likes it. So if you look at this Bali 48, I mean, look at the master suite there on the port side. You literally have a normal height bed, full walk around. You can make it, you can get in and out of it without disturbing your partner. You get a beautiful double sink bathroom. Again, boats, if you're going to do live aboard, it's the same as a house. Bathrooms and kitchens, bathrooms and kitchens. This is a heck of a bathroom. And I guess your guests are equally well fitted out. You know, the Leopard has an athwartship, but they've stuffed the master back into the aft and put it fore aft, and you just don't have the access around it. The Lagoon 51, I really thought in this redesign that they would have pulled that one off like FP has done, but they didn't. They left it exactly the same. The DeFore, again, they have more space around the fore aft, but they've again put the guest as the athwartship. It would have been nice if they would have switched that around a little bit. Now, moving on board. So you can see the aft here. Of course, you don't have a hydraulic platform because you have their rather unique lever system for bringing up the dinghy, and you got a nice platform out back. You know, even considering here where you look at this aft cockpit, very abbreviated because, of course, Bali moves their saloon all the way back. But I mean, you've got a nice, still a reasonable aft cockpit here. You've got a massive covered cockpit up top on the flybridge, which is where everybody likes to gather anyways. And then you got another cockpit out front with that solid foredeck. And I mean, you can talk to me all day long about how nets, you know, the trampolines are better for weight. This thing is 15 ton, a little over 16 ton at 50 feet. So the material sciences have caught up to the whole idea that you have to have trampolines up front to be light. So, you know, given all the other spaces you've got and the fact that you're looking for livability, I think what they've done with this aft cockpit is really outstanding. And of course, you can have this beautiful teak decking. Looking here, you've got independent access to the aft cabin there for guests, depending on what cabin config you have. But look at this living room, a literal living room with lounge chairs and a full couch. And of course, it all opens up with that wonderful rear garage door opening and those side windows that slide right back, so that you have the best of both worlds, but you have real living space. So Sylvia would love this because she doesn't give up her family room. Look at this thing. You throw down a carpet and you're as comfy as a bug in a rug. They've also added on later generations here some nice detail to the back seats. They could do a little bit more, but they've done, you know, a lot more than many others. They've done a lovely job with the leather highlights on these handles here and the nice chrome bits at either side. And that's a good forward-facing nav station. I'd still, you know, if I'm going to have a forward-facing nav station, I'd rather have a chair than I'm actually going to sit in there like a trawler chair, where if that's the excuse that you're using for using up space for a forward-facing nav, have a frickin' chair that you can sit there and do a night watch in. Of course, the fridge in everything here is what everybody talks about. You have a full-sized fridge. This is highly livable. Again, you know, really nice touches with those handles and the locks on the drawers and the soft closed drawers. It would be really nice in this day and age if they had a full electric package, so you don't have to have gas on board, but they don't have that just yet. But look at this beautiful cabin here. It's absolutely fantastic. The bed's nice and low. You've got space all the way walking around there. You're laying in there, you're looking out the window. You can make your bed easily. It's absolutely fantastic. Moving into the ensuite, you've got a really nice sized ensuite. Of course, there's no wet heads here, full separate showers. I mean, this is a condo on water. Absolutely fantastic. Moving aft, we've got the other shared bathroom here and a day head. And then you've got the aft cabin, which this mimics what your master suite would be. So you can see that bed is at the same height as my bed is at home. So Sylvia's going to feel right at home, very comfortable. She can walk around it. I can make it easily. We can both get in and out without crawling over each other or crawling over the sheets. And you still have nice built-in side tables there. Beautiful head right there. Again, no wet head. You've got a full separate shower, nice sink. There's no shortage of space or light. Look at the size of these windows, and every one is vented. Not to mention, you have the really cool escape hatch there that lets you see out between the hulls, and you have the stairs and private exit for your guests, or right out onto the rear deck. Not a lot not to love here. The one thing that I found, though, and it doesn't really show up, is the fit in the materials, the finishes, the textures, the colors. They left me a little flat. We talked a little bit about this on the Leopard, but here I don't know what it is. I got on board here, and looking back here, you can see this. I don't know how else to say this. It didn't feel like a boat. I get all the advantages. I get all the advantages. It just didn't feel like a boat. And I don't know how else to put that, which put me a little off. I know that's not a practical statement, not a reasonable statement, but I want a boat to feel like a boat. Now, this is a great cabin here. This would be on the passenger hull on the 4-cabin version that has a full owner's hull. And in my opinion, I take out those bunks and I turn that into a utility room, pantry, laundry room. It would be just outstanding. And that's about the only layout change that I would do to this boat. To me, they hit it out of the park. Now, when you stand back and look at your boat, it doesn't look as pretty from the outside, but you know, if you're a handsome is as handsome does fella, this is the boat for you. So walking back up here, you know, your compression post, some people complain this in the middle, it doesn't get in the way, it's terrific. Walking back through here again, you just get that full visibility, and then out this forward cockpit. Look, to the other manufacturers, stop pretending that you can ignore this trend. This is a good idea. Just bite the bullet and copy it, because Lagoon and, Leopard and Bali have it nailed. Max Cruise is doing the same on theirs and it looks great. Van, he's doing the same on his R5 and his R6 and it's awesome. Everybody wants that ease of forward access and the safety and the convenience and the ability to have some privacy when you're med-mooring. Just go with it. All of you can do it. Well, most of you can do it based on the architecture of your boats, and we'll explore that a little further later on. So now, doing a little naval gazing on what we would do a little bit different. So the one thing that Leopard has over everybody else is that forward cockpit has beautiful coverage. It has a slide back shade and it really, really works. Now, Bali could do that with this technology that I'm showing you here. It's really simple. You can see it here where if it's built in from the design stage as a factory option, it can be integrated on that forward brow that Bali has and just slide out at the touch of a button and provide beautiful shade and coverage to that fantastic forward cockpit. This is an option that absolutely Bali should integrate into their forward cockpit. It's simple. You can do it either manual or electric. Obviously, I would do it electric, but you can see what that would do to that forward cockpit. It would be fantastic. You can't say enough about this forward cockpit. It's absolutely massive. Moving down the decks, of course, Bali has no hatches. No need for flush hatches because they don't put hatches along in the roof of the cabins along the deck side exposure. But I still believe that they have a significant amount and good ventilation, cross ventilation anyways. A little more naval gazing here. I don't understand why you have lifelines on sailboats and you have rigid rails or solid rails on powerboats. It's for safety. How is that flimsy little lifeline and those tiny stanchions going to help anybody? They're not. They might be good for hanging a net on to keep your dogs or your kids from walking over the edge, but there's nothing lifeline-y about them. Why in the world aren't more people copying what Amel did here and putting solid life rails on there? It's not like it adds a ton of weight. It doesn't harm the aesthetics, and it's actually practical. Put them at the right height, make them rugged enough, and actually make them practical. It would certainly keep my wife, kids, any guests who aren't familiar with a boat way more comfortable on board. Now, back heading down the side, you can see we're going to go up top to this fantastic flybridge. You've got great space. You know, the only criticism here is that it's a true flybridge, so you don't have communication with below. But I mean, you've got full coverage. You got space for solar panels. You got space for a full-on party there, and you have visibility for days. You don't actually see both your aft hulls from this position, but obviously you have cameras well up there that you can see, and you can jiggy yourself around to see them if you need to. As far as the forward visibility goes, you can see it's absolutely stunning. The aft visibility, you can get it on the starboard side, but you're a little bit blind on the port side. Coming back down again, you know, you have those beautiful external access hatches, as well as the internal access to those aft cabins, and you have a quick peek in there. You have significant privacy depending on your cabin layout. But what a comfortable boat. And all of the nonsense about, oh, it's not seaworthy with a rigid foredeck turned out to be complete nonsense. As you've watched any of the boat videos where they've done the transatlantic crossing, everything's fine. In fact, it turns out that rigid foredeck provides buoyancy and actually greater safety in a heavy sea. Not to mention freaking acres of living space. So that sort of sums up our interior walk around. I was really looking forward to this boat because I thought, woo, this is the ticket. The only issue I have is just the general feeling of it. Now, let's walk over to Yacht World and look at some pre-owned comparables. So, New Bali, you do a 50% typical adder for sail away, and you're going to be at about 1.1, 1.2 USD for a New Bali sail away. So if we're looking at this Lagoon 2018, 52, and it has the athwartship berth, it certainly it doesn't have as livable a saloon, nor as good a flybridge. It does have a bigger rear cockpit, but a New Bali is 1.2, let's say, and an 018 Lagoon 52 Sport is going for about $1,100,000. I would take the Bali. So moving to something a little more exotic, the Outremer 51. We're looking at an 019. Here we're looking at almost exactly the same price as a New Bali. Now, for the right person, you can easily argue this one. I won't get into the specifics, but not for my wife, but for the right couple, they would go this way, and I'd be tempted if it was just me, but I'm not going anywhere if she doesn't come. Here's a nifty one, the Neil 51, and Tri-Fly's been around a while. She is a 2018, Try to Fly is a 2018 Neil 51. So again, the Bali is 1.15, 1.2, and this one is asking 850, just under 850. You don't have the same practicality on the Neil. It's sexier, it's wickedly cool, it has a lot of cool features. It would probably leave my wife flat compared to the Bali. Having said that, my wife wouldn't permit me to have a minivan even parked in the driveway, so I'm not sure what she would say about the Bali's looks on the outside. That's where the whole practicality thing starts to go sideways, so maybe. Now, let's get into the Dave score. Now, looking at the Dave score and our various categories on the whole elegance quotient, nice leather touches, but on the interior, but just feels a little too RV. So we gave it a 6. The exterior is too square. Great for space, but not so good for aesthetics. So gave it a 5. Comfort, this is where the thing shines. So love the cockpit space, the big athwartship low berths. The overall feel is still a little too RV, but it comes out with an 8. You can't argue with the comfort. Exterior comfort, same thing again. The quantity makes up for the perceived quality per se, and I don't mean that in a slight, because I'm not talking about quality. So we got it an 8. The overall quality, it feels a little too RV, but it's still very nice. There's nice touches there, so I gave it a 7. The performance, Leopard and Lagoon need to be on a significant diet. This at 15 ton, but it has a lower sail area. I'll bet she goes a little faster. It's hard to say. The Leopard hulls are quite narrow, but it's hard to argue with 5 tons. Lazy Sailor, there's really nothing special here. It wouldn't be a hard vessel to manage. Still needs the bow stern thrusters, the joystick docking, in my humble opinion. Needs the forward electric furlers. Having said that, everything comes back to the helm. There's all electric furlers there. That beautiful electric rear garage door. A lot of good things going for this boat. So Lazy Sailor, I'm going to give it a 7. Condo, this is like a Vancouver condo. So I'm giving it a 9. It's just massive living space. The geek score, there's just nothing really geek worthy on this. Finally, on the value for money, I'd say, you know, she's a 6. She's a nice boat, a lot of comfort, but just feels a little too RV. What can I say? So overall, the Bali 4.8 scores a solid 69, right along with the Wave. Now, that's pretty good company to keep. I know that the Wave is very controversial, but at 50 feet with the sheer volume that thing has, it's about the only thing that exceeds the Bali in a 50-foot with sheer living space, and manages to pull it off at 16 ton or a little over 16 ton, and is a whole lot more expensive. So Bali's doing really well. Moving up, we got the Windaloo, then the Neil, Leopard, Balance, and then the HH and Outremer tied at the top. I would say that's a fairly reasonable assessment for a Sylvia look at this boat, all told, and versus its competition. So thanks again so much for watching one more episode. Hopefully my sound management is doing better for those. Thanks Clive and the various ones who've commented. I really do appreciate your input. If you have any comments or thoughts here, please do put them in there. I really do appreciate any ideas you have, and any technologies that you've seen that would make life easier for a liveaboard, especially where you're looking to have your wife very, very comfortable on here to convince her for that circumnav. So have a great week, and we'll see you next week.